Before I get in this video, I just want to say I'm not against, smoking weed or whatever the fuck, right? This video is just talking about my experience, the good side and the bad side. This isn't a hate video. That's what I'm trying to say. This is not a hate video. So before we get into the topic, I just want to introduce myself. So hello there. I am Sabe, or Saberui, however you want to say it. You can even call me Sai. I don't really have any fancy credentials. I'm just like some kid. I like playing Minecraft. I make music. So this is a story from college. I did about one semester at this one school. I'm not going to disclose the name, and it's mainly about my friends. So how did this all begin? Okay, in college I had this roommate. Let's call her Anne. Okay, Anne, as I'm going into college, I'm this like little 18-year-old kid, right? New to this world. I'm there with my parents. We're moving shit in. And my roommate, once I'm settled in and my parents have taken off, I'm settled. My roommate comes in, it's like, yo, I'm going out to eat with my friends. She had a lot of friends already. So I was like, sweet, right? Free friend group, easy friend group. I said, when you're desperate for friends, you do stupid shit like this. I go with my roommate to eat with these people, and all of them have carts, right? It's college, right? Everyone has a cart. Everyone has a yart now. They're all sitting there with their little yarts in their mouths, I guess. And, I get curious. I'm like, hey, what's that? And they're like, oh, it's just a yart. You can buy it from what we called him the weed man, but there's this smoke shop. Why don't we visit them later tonight? This is where I was stupid. Just wants to party, just wants to experience life. So later that day, all of us as a group visit the smoke shop, and they're running this promo where if you join their Instagram, and if you can prove you made someone else join the Instagram via a referral, you would get 2 free 50 milligram edibles. 50 milligrams starting out is horrible. I don't know dosage. I don't know any of this shit. I just got this gummy and all my friends are telling me to take it. So I was like, okay, let's take it. I take it and just kind of derealize in my dorm by myself until I get tired and fall asleep. I just felt more like I was watching a movie than I was actually present. So day 2 comes around, right? I wake up, got the worst brain fog in the world, right? Because I was like, yeah, let me starting dose, right? 50 milligrams. That's smart. I walk my happy ass to the bathroom, get my shower, do all that shit. Roommate comes back. He's like, hey, it's Saturday, right? Because at this point it is Saturday. We moved in Friday. Why don't you try hitting my cart? Maybe that'll be better for you. And I'm like, why not? Right? I hit the yart, my roommate's cart, and I am high all day. And I am very comfortably high. It was I would consider that my first, proper high. I'm like, dude, this rocks. I need to get one for myself. So later that day, by myself, I walk my ass to the smoke shop and I buy a cart for the very first time. I get my cart and I go back to my dorm and I smack it. I cough my lungs out. And then again, I'm fried for the entire day. I'd say here is kind of where things started going bad, right? Because, I clarified earlier in the video, I have no issue against consuming pot. All right, you're fine. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I have an issue with carts, I think. And the best way I could compare it, like the way I see it in my mind now, at least, is, like someone who drinks alcohol, has a glass of wine or has a shot before bed, you wouldn't really consider them an alcoholic. But when you start bringing a flask of vodka to work, when you start bringing that flask everywhere, you would argue, hey, that person might be a bit of an addict, might be a little bit of an alcoholic. And I think the same logic can be applied to weed. You're hitting that shit in the bathroom at work, you're hitting that shit in your car, you're basically fried 24/7, depending how you use it. And in my opinion, that's where, weed can get very dangerous, right? So I get this cart, I'm just fried 24/7, right? Fucking pen that fits in my pocket, I'm getting fried in class, I'm getting fried, in my dorm, I'm getting fried while I do homework, right? And at first it's nice. It makes everything nice. It makes doing homework easy. But then you'll get to that point, and heavy weed smokers know what I'm talking about. The magic of it disappears and it just turns into an altered state of mind. It's no longer like an event to get high. It's just something you do. And once you get to that point, it's very, very hard to work towards anything, I found. I'm sure there's some people out there who are like, dude, I hit my car every fucking day and I'm a CEO. 1 in 4 Gen Zers smoke weed, and 23% of that 1 in 4 does it daily, and I can guarantee you it's from a cart. Oh, you smoke weed? You're cool. You're hip. Yeah, if you do it on Saturdays on your couch with like some popcorn in a movie, not when you're doing that shit in the bathroom to get your work done. Because if you don't do it, you start. People say weed isn't addictive. That's just not true. Physically, maybe not, but psychologically, I'd argue it's horribly addictive, especially to like neurodivergence, right? You know, this entire story that I'm talking about here is exactly what happens to me. I start becoming reliant, and it gets to a point where it's not enough, so I switch to gummies, right? And I'm taking 100 milligrams a day. Like weed users know that's a shitload. It starts affecting me mentally, right? You know, I'm kind of just coasting like this for the majority of the semester until around like November. No, it was September. The friend group that I, thought I was friends with, long story short, they basically stalked and harassed me for weeks at the request of, my parents. I had to leave the school. I go home, and here's the thing. I don't have any goals at this point, right? I am literally just bed rotting, getting fried, watching TV and eating. But here's like, your brain is not meant to do that. Your brain is not meant to be happy just existing. After a while, it starts causing issues, right? So a little bit more backstory about me. Like I said at the start of the video, I make music, right? I'm gonna just call it what it was. It's addiction of mine, hitting carts 24/7. I didn't smoke it the other way. I didn't smoke it any other way. Eventually your brain can't take it and you freak the fuck out. I reached a point of clarity where I realized that this is using up all my money. I can't get shit done. All I'm doing is sitting on my ass playing video games and fucking ruining my life. And once I came to that realization, I started getting panic attacks. Any, slight mood change, right? Anything like any slight inconvenience in my life. Because at this point I quit. It started causing issues because whenever something semi-bad happened, I would have panic attacks. It's a bit of a remnant from the harassment I got from in college. It was still being triggered because I didn't have my weed. Because I'm not just like nonchalantly just hanging out now. I'm thinking sober thoughts, and that means I am stressing about things again. My nervous system just wasn't ready for that. And I actually ended up in the hospital. I couldn't keep food down. And it's not out of a lack of appetite. It's not out of a lack of want. The anxiety, I guess, was just so strong that my stomach couldn't take it. So they prescribed me all sorts of fucking meds. I've got like 4 new pills that I gotta take to keep the panic attacks down. This wasn't an issue before I started smoking weed. I'm gonna just keep it straight with you. I went through all sorts of shit, a million times worse, and I had no kind of like panic reaction like I do now. And it's a permanent change. My nervous system is just so out of whack now. My brain chemistry is just so fucked and like dopamine reliant that I freak out now. It'll hit and then I'm dysfunctional for days. And I guess I'm just making this video as a bit of a warning. You're hitting that shit all the time. Right now you're chilling. It's going to come to get you. And it did with me. Sadly, corporations in this country are getting them hooked on weed, and it's doing nothing but actually like it's just hurting the reputation. Here's Sabe's like fucking super hot take. You can't be like pro weed and pro marijuana usage recreationally and support these fucking 17-year-old, 18-year-old kids getting carts that can get them fried whenever they want at a press of a button. So I just wanted to share the story, talk about, I wouldn't say it ruined my life, but it put it into a new perspective. Let's just say that. Don't fucking go down that route, just keep smoking on the fucking weekends and do your homework.